talk about something that, again, unfortunately, we've been seeing come up more and more. And if you look at the statistics, it's shocking to me that all of us aren't seeing a lot more of this. And I think we're not seeing it because clients just aren't telling us. I had a situation where, and it was an astute financial advisor that picked up some subtleties in expenses on an account that really kind of broke this open. And we have a situation with a beneficiary with several different addiction issues, including drug abuse and gambling. And an astute financial advisor picked up some odd expenses and very delicately, politely, politically correct, raised the issue. And we started to explore it. Turns out there's been a history of drug addiction in the family for generations. We never knew. It's absolutely, and maybe if I were a mental health professional, I would have picked up on clues better than I did. But I've been doing this for a while. We've all been doing this for a while. They really, everyone that I dealt with in the family that now I know has issues, they really hit it incredibly well. I think it's important to keep in mind that we need to try to get clients to engage and tell us what's going on. We can't plan for things that could be very problematic if the clients don't open up and tell us about what's going on. And apropos to the observation by the financial advisor, this is why collaboration is so critical, because some of these little personal nuances that may be very intentionally well covered up and hidden, one advisor may get a clue, another advisor may get a clue, and together we can all kind of figure it out. Just one of the simple things that we changed almost immediately, as soon as we could, the senior generation wanted to give a whole bunch of the children and grandchildren a certain amount of money outright, a large estate, and you want to give 100 grand, 500 grand of, so they can just have some funds to do as they wish without the formalities of a trust. I don't love that in any circumstance, but okay, and we do it, and clients ask for it. But my gosh, when you have beneficiaries that have dangerous addiction issues, $500,000 could end up killing the beneficiary, literally. So this is a much longer discussion, and I have some other webinars in the hopper with a mental health professional on these that we'll tackle. But I think we need more discussion about all of this in the profession, and we need more programs and articles and webinars discussing this, because it is so much more common than we realize. And again, I don't think it's an overstatement to suggest that it was really very difficult, if not impossible, to discern. And these large cash bequests that, relative to the size of the estate, really didn't seem awful. Yeah, I did the general, put everything in trust. You should have everything in trust. But I didn't argue with them because I had no idea. We all need to talk about this more, and maybe even try to get better at identifying these situations. Alan, any thoughts or comments on that?
Yeah, we have very strong addicted beneficiary language in our trusts. They go for pages. I'm glad to share them with anyone. They were written with the assistance of a couple of psychologists. And what it basically says is, if you're not dry and you blew it, then you got to wait 60 months. You got to be dry for 60 months before you can go back to the standard of living that we've intended for you. And it's a monetary punishment and reward for dealing with the addiction. And a lot of people think that addicts are bad people or dishonest people, or they have weak personalities. Really, you're born with that addiction, and it screams and yells at you. Or you have tremendous anxiety, it screams and yells at you. So then you start taking some medication or alcohol to deal with that anxiety. And we can just all thank heaven that we weren't born with this predilection. It's a very, very difficult, serious situation. Some clients appreciate it and some clients don't. And some clients really don't want to tell you that their son is a drug addict. and that they have to give him cash so that he'll stay quiet. And sometimes you can't deal with that until the client died, and a competent trustee can force the beneficiary to say, hey, go to rehab or live on the street. Those are your two choices. So it is something that every planner should have some familiarity with, the ability to call in someone to help you decide what's best for somebody, and recognizing that this happens in almost every large family, but more and more genetically, with genetic tendencies. So talking to clients about that is a pretty good idea.
Let me just bring in one last point of something that we had to deal with for this client. And I was a little surprised by it, but I appreciated the integrity of the trustee. The trustee that has been the institutional trustee for the family for a very long time said, listen, we're not the right trustee for this. This is not what we can do. And one of the things that also triggered a problem, whatever the level of wealth is at the parent level, when it gets divided by, in this case, 6 different pots, you now have trusts that each of which is well below the threshold level that the institution's minimum is. And when you have 3 or 4 of those 6 trusts with beneficiaries that require the kind of tough decisions and ongoing involvement that a trustee requires, the trustee said, listen, we're not the right people. We're not going to do the right job. So we went out and found a trust company that says, yeah, we do this all the time. Here's how we bill. Here's how we work. We're happy to help. So the decision about who the trustee should be is very important. And in a lot of the families that we've dealt with these issues, and like Alan said, a lot of people won't tell you, which worries me about how many have not dealt with them. One of the things that was done is they wanted to name one of the family members as a trustee. And the client, which was wonderful and doesn't always happen, was willing to bring in a mental health consultant that we had recommended. And we've been authorized to interact and discuss all of this with the mental health consultant, who's been instrumental in all the planning. And when I mentioned to this mental health expert that they wanted to name a certain family member as a trustee, she's absolutely bad. No, that will not work. So if the clients can only be made comfortable, I think part of the problem for some clients is embarrassment, which it shouldn't be. Part of the problem is they don't understand, the clients don't understand how much we can do to proactively help them if we only know what's going on. I would never have brought in the particular institution that is now involved. I would have never given them such kickback on naming a family member as a trustee and so on. So it's very common and something that really needs to be looked at.